Binoculars, the only podiatrist in Cenla that is one step ahead of everyone else.
Hi, this is Bianca Brown, the Mobile Sensi Lady. Are you looking for a dream job? Well, you need to give me a call today. I'm looking for new recruits to join my team of Sensi consultants. Join Sensi today and get your starter kit for only $99 plus shipping and tax. Benefits include additional income, flexibility, incredible friendships, world-class training, recognition, personal growth, discounts on amazing Sensi products, and the opportunity to earn fabulous incentive trips around the world like the all-expense paid trip I earned to Cancun, Mexico. Interested in joining Sensi? Give me a call today at 318-618-1832. That's 318-618-1832. Please refer to my website, lapeacefulsense.sensi.us, for our income disclosure statement.
The Rapides Parish School Board is looking for volunteers interested in helping parents and educators make a positive impact in the lives of young people. If you, your business, your church, or community organization would like to help empower and elevate young people in our community, please consider being a mentor. Effective mentoring has the ability to help children both cope with and overcome many of the obstacles they face in today's world. Please visit our website or social media pages to sign up to partner with educators and parents to ensure the children of Rapides Parish have the supports they need. Let's continue to show the world that Rapides Parish truly is better together.
Thank you very much.
Hi, I'm Denisha Edwards, City News Manager for the Drum newspaper in Ponchatoula and Baton Rouge. My job is to make sure your stories get told. I make sure you know what's happening in your community. Whether that's exciting, informative, or just entertainment, your news matters at the Drum. But we can't do it all alone, and no one knows the community better than you. That's why I'm asking you to share your stories with me. At the Drum, we believe a community that is informed is a strong one. So if you've got important news, witty insight, upcoming events, or even a wedding announcement, call me at 225-927-3717 or email me news to news@thedrumnewspaper.info. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter today as we report your news.
COVID-19 vaccine? Now you can enter to win cash. 4 people will win $100,000 with one lucky vaccine recipient winning the grand prize of $1 million. Under 18, you can win one of 9 $100,000 college scholarships. So, get the vaccine and take your shot at $1 million. To enter, visit shotatamillion.com or call 855-453-0774. Brought to you by the Louisiana Department of Health.
Hi, this is Dolores with Robinson Family Mortuary. The COVID-19 pandemic has been devastating to our community, and we have served numerous families affected by it. Planning a funeral is difficult, but a sudden loss during this pandemic can be even more stressful. Robinson Family Mortuary can help ease your stress and serves all of Central Louisiana, including Natchitoches, Oakdale, Marksville, Leesville, Fort Polk, and most every parish in the entire state. The newly renovated Robinson Family Mortuary is located at 1815 Military Highway in Pineville, and we can be reached anytime by calling 318-442-7300. That's 318-442-7300, or visit us online at robinsonfm.com. Robinson Family Mortuary, without delay, can arrange for a traditional funeral service, cremation, ship in or ship out, including military. We accept all assignable and verifiable life insurance policies. With just one call to 318-442-7300, all of your homegoing needs can be taken care of at our newly remodeled Robinson Family Mortuary. Robinson Family Mortuary, a family serving families.
Introducing Dr. Ogali Ileye with foot and ankle specialist located at the 415 Bienville Street, right behind the hospital in Natchitoches. Every step you take depends on the condition of your feet. Dr. Ogali Ileye is a former college athlete. Also, he has vast experience in sports medicine. As a licensed podiatrist, Dr. Ileye treats a wide range of foot and ankle problems like diabetic foot care, bunions, chronic sores, nail problems, infections, ingrown toenails, planters, warts, wound care, and more. The professionals at Foot and Ankle Specialists, 415 Bienville Street in Natchitoches, can help you get back on the good foot by calling 318-357-3668. That's 318-357-3668. So whether you need foot or ankle surgery because of a sports injury or just need constant foot care because of diabetes, put your best foot forward and call Dr. Ogali Ileye with Foot and Ankle Specialists in Natchitoches today at 318-357-3668. Dr. Ogali Ileye with Foot and Ankle Specialists, 415 Bienville Street in Natchitoches, the only podiatrist in Sinlock that is one step ahead of everyone else.
The world is ready to see you again, and so is Alexandria International Airport. Our airport staff and industry-leading airlines, American, Delta, and United, are working hard to provide a safe and healthy journey. We've created FlySafeAEX.org as your online resource for the latest air travel information. Whether traveling for business or summer fun, your destination to the world starts here. Come fly with us at Alexandria International Airport. I'm leaving on a jet
Black private dick, there's a sex machines on her cheeks. Damn right. Who is a man that would risk his neck for his brother, man? Can you dig it? Who's the captain won't cop out when there's danger all about? Right on. You see, this cat chef is a bad mother.
Shut your mouth. Top of the morning to your eyes open news time, 29 minutes past. How you doing this morning, Q? You doing okay?
Great. Happy Thursday.
Happy Thursday, everybody. Give me a little bit more shaft there, Q. Perfecto. Just a tad. Just bring it up a little bit for me. You know how I like to get my theme music in the background. Perfect. Top of the morning to you. I'm still a little low. Check my headphones over there. You know I can't really hear. It's Thursday, July 29th. Thank you, ma'am. I appreciate that. This morning we do have Colonel Lamar Davis. It was my snafu yesterday. I had mentioned yesterday that we're going to have Louisiana's top cop. As we kind of talk to him more about how he's going to regain the public's confidence with the state police in the wake of the death and the subsequent cover-up of motorist Ronald Green more than 2 years ago, and other incidents targeting black people up in Troop F and other problems that they're having. So I'm going to have a candid conversation with him, explain if they're connected to the investigation, if they're completely out. We know the FBI possibly, and certainly the Department of Justice. And we're concerned of what we saw, why still to date that no one has been arrested and suffered charges, criminal charges as a result of the death of Ronald Green, who was savagely beaten. And then, you know, when you have cops beating people and then getting on the microphone or whatever, texting each other, laughing about it, that's problematic. So that shows that these cops do not have a good heart. It shows that they don't have the mentality to protect and serve, and that many of them are just plain and simple racists who don't like people of color, and they go above and beyond out of their way to show that and display that when they pull over motorists for simple tasks that they end up dead. So it's very problematic with the situation. So we're glad to have Colonel Lamar Davis, who got appointed the job back in November after the white guys at the top really screwed up. Yeah, so they had to get new leadership. And the state police has been in battle and scandal, I would say, for the last 5 years or more. And still nothing has been done. I remember those guys going on the public's dime to a conference in California and then taking a trip to Las Vegas on the public's dime. I remember that whole debacle. I remember that state superintendent lost his job as a result of it. So it's been problematic with the state police. And when you look at the state police overall, in a demographic of Louisiana being nearly a third, the second to the largest black population in any state in America, second only to Mississippi, while we have nearly a third of our population of black people, and less than 10% of the troopers who are patrolling our streets are black people. It's problematic. That numbers don't add up. So there's going to need to be some diversity in recruiting. There's going to need to be some sensitivity training. And what measures is he putting into place to make sure that he weeds out the bad apples and that he starts recruiting righteous men and women who, of course, do not dishonor the badge or make residents their prey, and P-R-A-Y, like they are predators. So we got a lot of police officers that are just predators, and some of the most effective police officers have criminal minds. So it's not unusual that many of them cross the line back and forth, Q, from legal activity to illegal activity, and they have no problem doing it. And then going home and beating on their wives. Some of them are taking it out on their family. It's a bad job. It's a tough job. Only certain type of individuals can do it, and apparently we are not doing a good job of getting the right type of recruit to protect and serve the citizens of Louisiana. So with that said, I'm glad to have him. We'll revisit with Monty Wilson, the president and CEO of Christus St. Francis Cabrini Hospital, talking about the serious measures that the hospitals are now taking to mitigate the fourth wave of COVID-19. No room in the inn You heard him say it yesterday, Q. There is no beds at the hospital available right now. At Cabrini, I'm not sure about Rapides, but I know many hospitals across the state, because of this latest wave, are now filled up. And to mitigate the situation, they are not having elective surgeries. Heart attacks, stroke victims, all those people are now going to have to wait. Shock. Our statewide news, you can use: one person killed, 2 other injured in the shooting in North Baton Rouge. We'll tell you about that. Shockingly little accountability. Feds should investigate the Baton Rouge Police Department for abuses, activists say. I say the feds should investigate the Alexandria Police Department as well. In fact, the feds need to investigate every police department in the state of Louisiana, particularly East Baton Rouge, and definitely Alexandria Police, which is embroiled in a hotbed of controversy. Down more than a third of its officers. Black flight has left because of discrimination practices, sexual harassment, women of color. They have all left APD. And when you have a racist former police chief who made a mandate that we will not let any black men pass the academy. Yeah, the last 3 recruiting classes. How can you have a town Q 60% black, more than 60% black, and a racist white chief who mandates to his recruiters and the academy that we will not, well, they can join the academy, we can't prevent that, but we got to make sure that they don't pass. We're going to make sure that they do not pass. He has done that the last 3 academies. So that means 3 years practically with no black men being recruited on the Alexandria force, while we got a black man sitting up there in City Hall doing absolutely nothing to fix the problem. Fentanyl test strips, I say Jeff Hall, y'all can vote for him next year, but he ain't getting my vote. He is not getting my vote. We got the wrong guy in the job. We got bamboozled again. A guy who doesn't see black people and doesn't even have a lot of black people around him in his so-called leadership team. The truth is the truth. Fentanyl test strips legalized in East Baton Rouge. We just want people, we just want to help people. Lake Charles disaster relief, not an infrastructure deal, but hope not lost. Attempt to divert library funds for flood protection fails in East Baton Rouge. And finally, Q, a Louisiana hospital paid people cash to get COVID vaccines, and appointments are filling up fast, Q. $100, come get your vaccine. I tell you what, people be lined up. It's 36 minutes past the hour. I'm running a little late. Phone lines are always open. 318-483-9977. 318-483-9977. This is Eyes Open on FM 107.5 The Vibe, 1110 a.m. KTTP on this Thursday, July the 29th. Good morning.
Tony Brown on FM 107.5 The Vibe and 1110 AM KGTP Alexandria Pineville.
Hello everyone, I'm Tony Brown. This is your statewide news you can use on this Thursday. It's the 29th day of the month of July. News being brought to you by Natchitoches Foot and Ankle Specialist Dr. Ogali Ileye. We're going to start down in Baton Rouge, where 1 person is dead and 2 more injured in a Wednesday evening shooting that took place in Baton Rouge on North 13th Street. First responders rushed to the reports of a shooting around 6:30 p.m. in the 100 block of North 13th Street by North Boulevard. Baton Rouge police said multiple individuals suffered injuries and that 1 person is dead. No other details available as of yet. Since a Baton Rouge police officer killed Alton Sterling in 2016, the city has garnered national attention and sharp criticism for its policing practices. Now, social justice groups are asking the federal government to address problems they say have seen little improvement. In a public video conference hosted by the Promise of Justice Initiative on Wednesday, Decarcerate Louisiana Executive Director Curtis Davis accused Baton Rouge police leaders of abusing their authority and turning a blind eye to systemic failure. Quote, they have weaponized the police department against our community, he said. It's been this way forever, and we have to get rid of the intellectual dishonesty of our leaders, acting like racism does not exist in East Baton Rouge. The event coincided with the release of a 21-page letter in which Promise of Justice Initiative Executive Director Mercedes Montague implores the U.S. Department of Justice to intervene. After detailing how local black residents have historically borne the brunt of police brutality, the missive calls for the DOJ to investigate a pattern of practice of constitutional violations in East Baton Rouge Parish. Quote, despite decades of police violence and public outrage, incidents of fatal shootings and other forms of police brutality in EBR Still around today, the letter reads, institutional racism and racist sentiment among East Baton Rouge officers have led to the over-policing of African-American communities and youth, discriminatory law enforcement, and frequent use of excessive force against African-Americans. In the wake of the 1991 Rodney King beating of Los Angeles police, Congress gave the U.S. Attorney General's Office and DOJ authority to conduct civil pattern and practice investigations that go beyond an individual occurrence to determine if a law enforcement agency displays systemic failures. Baton Rouge City Court candidate Carson Mercantile will stay in the race after a state judge Wednesday dismissed the lawsuit that sought to disqualify him. City residents Charles P. Bergeron and E. Helen Antilli had alleged that Mercantile did not file his 2016 state tax return, but an attorney for the plaintiffs told District Judge Don Johnson on Wednesday that they wanted to drop their legal challenge after learning that Mercantile that he had indeed filed a return. Paulette Porter LaBoisse III, the lawyer for Bergeron and Antilli, explained to the judge that the confusion arose because there's apparently another person in Louisiana by the name of Carson Mercantile. She said she did not know which Carson Mercantile did not file his 2016 tax return because the Louisiana Department of Revenue statute does not allow the plaintiffs to obtain that information. Only the taxpayer can get the information. Bergeron and Antilli did not attend Wednesday's hearing at the 19th Judicial District Court. The small rectangular strips that quickly detects whether a deadly synthetic opioid known as fentanyl is present in drugs are no longer illegal in East Baton Rouge Parish. A unanimous vote by Metro Council Wednesday cuts away red tape that prevented people from buying and distributing the rapid test strips to those struggling with addiction, something advocates and police say can decrease the risk of fentanyl overdoses. Lamont Cole, who introduced the item, says we just want to help people. Said District 7 City Council member. The measure came before the council at a time when opioid overdoses, a vast majority tied to fentanyl, are skyrocketing in the parish. About 75% of the 242 overdose deaths in the parish last year were fentanyl related. According to the parish district attorney's office, that number is even higher in 2021. Roughly 89% of the confirmed overdose deaths in the parish this year included fentanyl in a toxicology report. Quote, this is an epidemic that affects everyone in the parish from the curbside to the country club, said Tanja Miles, an advocate and proponent of the measure who has been in recovery for more than 30 years. The first fentanyl-linked overdose death was reported in the parish in 2014. Fatal overdoses from the drugs are steadily increasing since then before exploding last year. From 2014 to 2017, only 5.5% of the 348 overdose deaths involved fentanyl. According to the DA's office, some 31% of the 103 overdose deaths were attributed to fentanyl in 2018. In 2019, fentanyl became the deadliest drug in the parish, attributed to 51% of the 126 overdose deaths. In Lake Charles, a major infrastructure deal negotiated in part by U.S. Senator Bill Cassidy does not include the kind of hurricane disaster relief the Lake Charles area has been seeking, but further hope and strategies remain to have the money approved in the weeks or months ahead. Lake Charles and the surrounding region have been struggling to rebuild after the devastation inflicted by Hurricane Laura, one of the most powerful storms in state history with 150-mile-per-hour winds. It was followed by Category 2 Hurricane Delta around 6 weeks later, a fierce winter storm in February, and severe flooding in May. Complications linked to the pandemic have also slowed rebuilding efforts, including by increasing the cost of materials and limiting volunteers. Lake Charles estimates up to 5,000 of its residents could still be displaced, and possibly more in a city of around 78,000, and destruction remains ubiquitous throughout the region. An attempt to take money from Baton Rouge libraries to pay for flood protection has come to a screeching halt after failing to garner the 7 votes needed to move the idea forward Wednesday. The East Baton Rouge Metro Council will have to come up with another way to fund the drainage upgrades and ease the public's growing concerns around flooding. Councilman Dwight Hudson, who came up with the idea of diverting tax revenues from libraries and other departments to fund drainage projects, said it's back to the drawing board. And finally, Louisiana's governor dangled lottery tickets. State and local officials tried going door to door. Some ran online campaigns aimed at funneling residents towards information from medical experts, hoping to counter speculation and fear over COVID-19 vaccinations that brewed on social media. None of it seemed to work in Tangible Horde parents. Vaccinations stagnated even as the more contagious Delta variant spread and cases and hospitalizations soared. So Hammond's North Oaks Hospital tried something new, giving people cash to get vaccinated. Funded by donations from local businesses and government agencies, the hospital is offering $100 cash payments to those who sign up for the 2-shot Pfizer vaccination, $50 after their first shot, and another $50 when they return for the second. So far, the hospital staff say the cash inducement is working. All 500 appointments scheduled for July 31st under the incentives program are full, said North Oaks spokesperson Melanie Zavado. The first 400 slots were snatched up in 3 days after online sign-ups opened up in July 19. When a new round of donations allowed the hospital to open up another 100 shots for cash appointments on Tuesday, those took just a day or 24 hours to be filled. The initiative's success shows how people still on the fence over whether to get vaccinated, a population scientists are calling the movable middle, can be persuaded to seek out vaccinations that, according to Dr. Robert Peltier of North Oaks Hospital's chief medical officer up in Hammond. I'm Tony Brown. That's your statewide news you can use on this Thursday. Have a safe and a blessed day. Introducing Dr. Ogali Ileye with foot and ankle specialist located at the 415 Bienville Street, right behind the hospital in Natchitoches. Every step you take depends on the condition of your feet. Dr. Ogali Ileye is a former college athlete. Also, he has vast experience in sports medicine. As a licensed podiatrist, Dr. Ileye treats a wide range of foot and ankle problems like diabetic foot care, bunions, chronic sores, nail problems, infections, ingrown toenails, planters, warts, wound care, and more. The professionals at Foot and Ankle Specialists, 415 Bienville Street in Natchitoches, can help you get back on the good foot by calling 318-357-3668. That's 318-357-3668. So whether you need foot or ankle surgery because of a sports injury or just need constant foot care because of diabetes, put your best foot forward and call Dr. Ogali Ileye with Foot and Ankle Specialists in Natchitoches today at 318-357-3668. Dr. Ogali Ileye with Foot and Ankle Specialists, 415 Bienville Street in Natchitoches, the only podiatrist in Sinlock that is one step ahead of everyone else. Rapides Primary Healthcare Center is your federally qualified community healthcare center and is located at 1217 Willow Glen River Road in Alexandria. They are now accepting new patients. Are you tired of spending long hours in hospital emergency rooms waiting to receive non-critical healthcare services? Do you need affordable medical, dental, and mental health care? Do you need quality health care for you and your baby for prenatal, during pregnancy, and up until adulthood? Do you need to sign your family up for the Affordable Care Act or Medicaid? Then look no further than Rapides Primary Healthcare Center. It is the affordable, timely answer to all your family's health care needs. All services are available to anyone regardless of their ability to pay. You or your family will never be turned away. Rapides Primary is certified Kid Med site with a sliding fee scale. Payment is based on income and size of family. Medicaid, Medicare, and most commercial insurance are accepted for medical services. For appointments and information on all medical services, including Obamacare and Medicaid, call 318-487-4400. That's 318-487-4400. Rapides Primary Healthcare Center, a new beginning in quality health care and a proud impact partner of the Eyes Open Radio Network.
Did you get the COVID-19 vaccine? Now you can enter to win cash. 4 people will win $100,000 with one lucky vaccine recipient winning the grand prize of $1 million. Under 18, you can win one of 9 $100,000 college scholarships. So get the vaccine and take your shot at $1 million. To enter, visit shotatamillion.com or call 855-453-0774. Brought to you by the Louisiana Department of Health.
It's time for the scripture of the day. And now, the beautiful Bianca Brown.
Hi, it's Bianca Brown with your scripture of the day. Today's scripture comes from the book of Matthew, chapter 7, verse 21. Not everyone who says to me, Lord, Lord, will enter the kingdom of heaven, but the one who does the will of my Father who is in heaven. Today's scripture is being brought to you by the Monroe Street Church of Christ in Alexandria, Louisiana. If you would like to learn if you're in the will of the Father, you can do so by contacting the church. You can always reach the Monroe Street Church of Christ at 2008 Monroe Street, Alexandria, Louisiana, 71301, or give the church a call at 318-448-2494 and ask to speak with Minister Jesse Allen. As we always say, we will lift you up in prayer and in the precious name of our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ.
It's time for the Daily Bread with Tony Brown.
I really love today's Daily Bread segment. Seeing the person. Seeing the person. Read 2 Corinthians 5:12 through 21. 2 Corinthians 5:16, from now on we regard no one according to the flesh. On February 1st, 1964, students from an all-black college sat down at a whites-only lunch counter in Greensboro, North Carolina. One of them, Franklin McCain, noticed an older white woman seated nearby looking at them. He was sure that her thoughts were unkind toward them in their protest against segregation. A few minutes later, she walked over to them, put her hands on their shoulders, and said, quote, "I am so proud of you." Recalling the event years later on National Public Radio, McCain said he learned from this never to stereotype anyone. Instead, he learned to pause and consider others and seek an opportunity to talk with them. The first century church, like ours today, was often fractured by divisions based on race, language, and culture. Paul wrote to the followers of Jesus Christ in Corinth to help them respond to those who were more concerned with outward appearance than what is in the heart. 2 Corinthians 5:12. Because Christ died for all, Paul said, from now on we regard no one according to the flesh. Amen. That's verse 16. May we all look closely to see the person inside, for everyone is made in the image of God and can become a new creation in Christ. First impressions can mislead us, for we do not know the heart. We can often be mistaken, since we only know in part. It's what's in the heart that matters. I'm Tony Brown, and that's today's Daily Bread.
Good morning, this is Q Johnson Green with your Eyes Open weather forecast on this Thursday, July 29th. Today's forecast is brought to you by Rapides Primary and the Beginning of Quality Healthcare. Today, mostly cloudy with a chance of showers and thunderstorms in the morning and in the afternoon. Highs in the lower 90s. I'm Ms. Q Johnson Green. That's your Eyes Open weather forecast on this Thursday. Have a great day.
Gaining access to the Capitol.
All right, we're back right here. And, I got my grandkids at the house, and I'm glad to have them. Adrian's 4, Andre's 6 years old, and, like most kids, cute. They play on computers, and I went to ask them, I said, what are y'all playing? I said, I'm playing Fortnite. Fortnite? I said, wow. I don't know what it is about kids that they all on the same page some kind of way. I don't know how it happens or why it works, but Kate is getting pretty good at Fortnite. Tell me a little bit about Fortnite. What kind of game is it, Kate?
It's like a killing game.
Oh, gosh, gee whiz. Are you pretty good at killing on the game?
Yeah, but it's not just a killing game. You can dance around like emote.
Oh, can you? Okay. So how do you get points? By killing people and dancing around and stuff like that?
Well, it's not actually about getting points.
What is it about then?
It's like having fun and all the other stuff. And it also has battle lab.
Battle lab? Okay.
Yeah, that's the stuff where you can be creative.
Oh, great, man. So you're real creative, and I like that, you had the conversation and let me know, Uncle Tony, it's not about scoring points, but it's just about having fun. That's a good answer. You're getting real good at that, man. So I saw you the other day working on it. So you're getting better at it every time you play?
Yes.
Good. So when you come to the house this weekend, maybe, you and Adrian, I'll let you guys play on the big screen in the big room, okay?
Okay.
All right. You got a prayer ready for Uncle Tony and the listeners? You got a prayer? You ready, little man?
Yes.
Okay, well, let's do it. Let us pray.
Dear God, please help me to be strong and make the right choice, even if it feels like I'm the only one. Amen.
Amen. Sometimes you are the only one, and you just got to put your faith in God. That's an excellent prayer, man. High five. Put some stank on it now. You know how I like it. That's what I'm talking about. I got to hear it. See, Q, I found something that he was excited to talk about. Huh? He didn't mind talking about that. See, sometimes you got to find something that they're passionate about. Now, he's running right back to the game. I'm not mad at him. Let's go live down to Lake Charles, Louisiana, where we have meteorologist Todd Moggett standing by. Hey, Tom, how you doing?
Oh, pretty good.
Todd, you into video games?
Excuse me?
Are you into video games?
No.
No, same here, brother.
I'm too old for that.
Man, you like me. We're probably around the same age, but can you remember the last game that you were really proficient on when you were a youngster?
Pong.
What was it?
Pong.
What is it called? Pong?
Remember the old black and white?
Oh, Pong. Oh, my God. Oh, dang.
Oh,
no, man. I remember that Atari. You remember Atari came out with the little Pong and you boop, boop, boop. Like table tennis? Well, I'm a little bit more advanced than you. I was an expert at head-to-head football. You remember that one? You remember the football game where you head-to-head, you got one on one side, one on the other, and then they had the little pocket version where you could kind of play by yourself? Oh, man, I was the king on that. But anywho, we digress. Games have advanced far beyond what we ever thought they could be, and now you got to use a mouse to do all this stuff, and these kids are so great at it. I couldn't even figure it out. It's very complicated, but to them, it's like riding a bicycle. So let's talk about the weather forecast. I'm looking outside. Looks like the sun is out a little bit this morning, but tell us about the forecast. How are we looking? Are we looking at pretty much what we had over the past few days? Excessive heat indices in the triple digits, and popcorn showers coming up throughout the day.
Yep, that's exactly what we're going to be seeing. In fact, that's going to hold true throughout the weekend. Scattered afternoon showers and thunderstorms. Be looking at highs in the low to mid 90s. Heat indices probably 105 to 115.
Oh my gosh!
That's pretty much it. The only good thing is after today, we're probably looking at 20% chance of showers and thunderstorms.
Okay,
which then we'll see that chance increase to about 40% on Sunday.
Okay, well, I mean, I like the storms because they tend to cool us off a little bit. So, I don't have a problem with it. It's just the dog days of summer, or what we call Louisiana summers, right?
Yes, indeed.
All right, Todd, you take care. Have a good day, my friend.
You too.
All right, Todd Moggett with the National Weather Service out of Lake Charles and Little Caton Johnson, the expert head, of course, at these new games and, of course, with today's Kids Prayer. Okay, we're back. It's 58 minutes past the hour right here on your premier morning news magazine. I got a couple of national stories I'd like to share with you. If I could turn this thing off. Here we go. All right, let me find my readers, Q. Q, open up your microphone real quick.
Yes?
You don't have readers yet?
No, I don't have readers.
Yet. No, you just have glasses, don't you?
Just glasses.
Oh, your day coming, sister. It's coming. Give it another 5 to 10 years, and you're gonna notice even with your glasses. And then what you're gonna have to do, Q, is you're gonna get them little bitty bifocals. You know where you got the readers at the bottom and at the top.
I am not in a hurry for that.
But now they make them where they don't have the little. They blend it in, so you have bifocals, and people don't even know that you have them. So that's a good thing.
Okay.
All right, let's take a look at this. Colorado, and I know this may be a package, Q. Now, this next story may be very graphic, folks. It is on my Facebook page, so for you Facebook watchers and viewers out there, go to my Facebook and you can play it in its entirety. Here we go again. And here, to me, it's about violating people's civil rights. It appears to me that the people that were being beat, they were actually white people being beat, Q. That's why this one really stuck out to me. A Colorado police officer has been arrested after video showed him pistol whipping a man he was trying to take into custody, choking him and threatening to kill him. He put a gun to the man's head, Q. You know, similar to what that cop did to Aquarius Brown. No different. But the only difference here is those cops are under investigation and were pulled off the force immediately while the investigation is taking place. So let's go to the story right now in Colorado, where 2 cops are now sitting at home this morning on the public's dime as a result of violating this guy's rights.
Police Chief Vanessa Wilson described the video as despicable, horrific, and not normal, and said watching it had brought her to tears.
I'm going to tell you this video will shock your conscience. It is very disturbing.
It was early afternoon last Friday, a call for trespassing on South Parker Road. When officers John Harbert and Francine Martinez got to the scene, 2 of the suspects took off. When they realized the 3rd suspect, Kyle Vincent, had a warrant for a probation violation in Denver, the officers tried to arrest him, and the situation quickly turned violent.
Stop fighting! Stop fighting!
Body camera video shows Officer Harbert pistol whipping Vincent 13 times, according to Chief Wilson, causing several large welts on Vincent's face. At one point, Harbert also held Vincent down by his throat and threatened to shoot him.
On your face! On your face!
Vincent was treated and released from the hospital and is now in the Denver jail on that probation violation. Aurora police are not charging him with trespassing or any other crime.
How do you think an incident like this is possible?
I don't know.
Meanwhile, prosecutors have charged Officer Harbert with several counts of assault and Officer Martinez with failing to intervene. At a press conference Tuesday afternoon, Aurora's visibly shaken police chief apologized to Kyle Vincent and to the community and vowed to redouble her efforts to reform the department.
We're disgusted. We're angry. This is not police work. This is not the Aurora Police Department.
Look,
this was criminal.
In Aurora, Matt Jablow.
So I stand corrected, folks. That is a black man, a man of color, who was beaten 14 times with a pistol whip in the head, and then he was choked as well. So the white guy got away. The black guy didn't get away, and they basically whipped his ass. Choked him. It could have killed him. I mean, you hit a guy in the head 14 times with a pistol. You know, you butt him in the head 14 times, and you had to take him to the hospital, and he got, 6, 7 stitches in his head? That's problematic. So call, who does he need to call, Q? You know who you need to call, not Ghostbusters. He need to call Ben Crump. Get your money, man. That's all I'm going to say. That's the only thing these people understand. Fox News has host mocked officer, speaking of cops, this is a good cop, with a fake trophy. We're talking about D.C. Metropolitan Police Officer Michael Fanone, who was beaten during the Capitol attack, responds to Fox News' Laura Ingraham after she mocked the testimony on her show. I saw his testimony. Can we bring him up, Q? Let's play his testimony. He's been very verbal since
about the beatings that you suffered on January 6th. You know, what's that like to hear that from the likes of Laura Ingraham?
Well, first of all, I've spent quite a bit of time in my career testifying in court. And I always felt most comfortable when defense attorneys resorted to theatrical tactics because I knew that they no longer had facts to support their argument, and so they had to insult me, insult my appearance, or try to chip away at my credibility. But in this case, the facts are the facts. They're supported by hundreds of hours of videotape evidence, eyewitness testimony. They're undisputable. So if they want to disparage me or call me a member of Antifa or talk about my neck tattoos, I couldn't care less. What does concern me is the fact that those entertainers have an audience, and that audience takes their words and the rhetoric that they use as more than just entertainment. They think it's real, and that thought process has real life consequences, and we saw the results of that on January 6th.
Very well spoken, articulate. And, I had a problem initially with his neck tattoos. I could see the guy, my age or close to it. So, apparently when he was younger, he maybe got the tattoos, and some of that stuff is hard to get rid of. But in any event, you can't judge anybody by the tattoos now, because everybody got them. Am I right, Q? Everybody got it. Back in the day, like in the 70s and stuff, when I was coming up, we see a person with a lot of tattoos. They either worked in the circus or they were military, Vietnam veterans or Korean War veterans. But nowadays, it's part of their aesthetics. It's part of their freedom of expression. So you're seeing, even women, tatted up from head to toe. Used to be back in the day when we go to the circus queue, and it had like the little, you've been to the little trailer, the truck trailer, where you go in there and you see, they call it the circus freaks. So the tattooed people would be on the die, so to speak, on the stage, as some sort of mutant human freaks. So tattoos and people covering their entire body with tattoos was not something that was normal several years ago, and now it's commonplace. The only problem with when you tattoo, you cover your entire body, as a young person, may look lovely, may look wonderful, but when you start getting 50, 60, and 65, and that skin gets all white and crinkly and old and peely and flaky, you're not going to look so well. And then when you're young, you put stuff on your body that, it's cool, this, that, and the other, but, it might be a person's name. So that becomes problematic. What I'll say about that, your body is your temple. You put what you want on it, but do realize that the Holy Spirit dwells in that temple, and that temple is on loan. It doesn't belong to you, and God tells you not to deface it. I don't have a problem with tattoos, but some of the tattoos, the sexual nature, the profane nature, the violent nature, the witchcraft nature, the snakes and the skulls and the crossbones and the bats and just the evil type of stuff, you have to realize that the Holy Spirit is in that temple, and you're painting graffiti on that temple that is contrary to the Word of God. And that puts the Holy Spirit in a very bad position. And if the Holy Spirit, which dwells in you, is in a bad position, you are in no position to allow Christ to lead your life, because the Holy Spirit is in there, but it ain't coming out. It's not being fed. And you have defaced the temple. So just be careful what you put on your body at a young age. Nothing wrong with tattoos if they're done because they're art. The human body is a work of art. God created it. But just be careful of the message that you put on it, and something that you may not want to regret. And I know about puppy love. Don't get caught up in puppy love, putting this guy's name all on the back, tramp stamp, back of your neck, on your breast, all this, that, and the other. Next thing you know, he's out the window, and then you're talking about getting married to another man, and he has to look at your body with some other man's name on it for the rest of his life. That's not going to bode too well in getting you the man that God would have him find you. It's 7 minutes past the hour. Eyes Open News Time. Q, do I need to, I see that I'm way past. Let's go to break, and then we'll come out hopefully with Dr. David Holcomb with the very latest on the COVID-19 numbers and this crazy Delta variant. Good morning.
Eyes Open with Tony Brown on FM 107.5 The Vibe and 1110 AM KGTP Alexandria Pineville.
Introducing Dr. Ogali Ileye with foot and ankle specialist located at the 415 Bienville Street, right behind the hospital in Natchitoches. Every step you take depends on the condition of your feet. Dr. Ogali Ileye is a former college athlete. Also, he has vast experience in sports medicine. As a licensed podiatrist, Dr. Ileye treats a wide range of foot and ankle problems like diabetic foot care, bunions, chronic sores, nail problems, infections, ingrown toenails, planters, warts, wound care, and more. The professionals at Foot and Ankle Specialists, 415 Bienville Street in Natchitoches, can help you get back on the good foot by calling 318-357-3668. That's 318-357-3668. So whether you need foot or ankle surgery because of a sports injury or just need constant foot care because of diabetes, put your best foot forward and call Dr. Ogali Ileye with Foot and Ankle Specialists in Natchitoches today at 318-357-3668. Dr. Ogali Ileye with Foot and Ankle Specialists, 415 Bienville Street in Natchitoches, the only podiatrist in Sinlock that is one step ahead of everyone else.
The Rapides Parish School Board is looking for volunteers interested in helping parents and educators make a positive impact in the lives of young people. If you, your business, your church, or community organization would like to help empower and elevate young people in our community, please consider being a mentor. Effective mentoring has the ability to help children both cope with and overcome many of the obstacles they face in today's world. Please visit our website or social media pages to sign up to partner with educators and parents to ensure the children of Rapides Parish have the supports they need. Let's continue to show the world that Rapides Parish truly is better together.
Hi, this is Bianca Brown, the Mobile Cincy Lady. Are you looking for a dream job? Well, you need to give me a call today. I'm looking for new recruits to join my team of Cincy consultants. Join Cincy today and get your starter kit for only $99 plus shipping and tax. Benefits include additional income, flexibility, incredible friendships, world-class training, recognition, personal growth, discounts on amazing Cincy products, and the opportunity to earn fabulous incentive trips around the world like the all-expense paid trip I earned to Cancun, Mexico. Interested in joining Cincy? Give me a call today at 318-618-1832. That's 318-618-1832. Please refer to my website, lapeacefulsense.cincy.us, for our income disclosure statement.
Did you get the COVID-19 vaccine? Now you can enter to win cash. 4 people will win $100,000 with one lucky vaccine recipient winning the grand prize of $1 million. Under 18, you can win one of 9 $100,000 college scholarships. So get the vaccine and take your shot at $1 million. To enter, visit shotatamillion.com or call 855-453-0774. Brought to you by the Louisiana Department of Health.
The world is ready to see you again, and so is Alexandria International Airport. Our airport staff and industry-leading airlines, American, Delta, and United, are working hard to provide a safe and healthy journey. We've created FlySafeAEX.org as your online resource for the latest air travel information. Whether traveling for business or summer fun, your destination to the world starts here. Come fly with us at Alexandria International Airport.
I'm leaving on a jet.
We're back right here in your premier morning news magazine, and you know it's getting bad when the Advocate, as they used to do for about a year, up until about 4 or 5 months ago, used to put at the very top of the headline of the Advocate, whether it's their website or whether it's the print paper itself, they would have the Louisiana COVID numbers, data on cases, deaths, hospitalizations, and vaccines. But about 6-7 months ago, when the numbers started waning and people started getting the vaccine, it's called dropping the lead, you know. So basically the lead, which has been a pandemic for more than a year and a half, dropped to to a lower portion of the newspaper. But now and all this week, those numbers are back at the top of the website and back on the front headline of the page right above it. So as we take a look at the new confirmed cases in the state of Louisiana as of yesterday, nearly 4,000 new cases in the state of Louisiana since Friday, with another nearly 1,870 probably new cases. So we're pushing up with this particular number closer to 5,000. And then you add the probable cases, and then we've had 10 confirmed deaths so far, for a total number of confirmed cases in Louisiana, nearly 500,000 people at 442,951. It is so severe now that we've seen California now having a mask mandate in the state. Not only that, they are mandating vaccines for all of the state workers. We've seen the federal government this week, the feds, that's right, Washington, D.C., have told all federal civil service employees that you have to get the vaccine, or in California, you have to get the vaccine, or you have to submit to random weekly tests. You have to weekly testing. So that means every other day when you go to work, you got to get a test. In the federal government, I don't know if they're requiring tests in lieu of taking the vaccine, but what I do know is that they told people, if you're not going to take the vaccine and you're going to work for the federal government, you may not have a paycheck after all. We've seen now sporting organizations, I think on the East Coast, particularly baseball, over in New York, where you can't get into Yankee Stadium unless you have proof that you have a negative test or a vaccine. So now you have corporations, even the hospital over in Texas, if memory serves me correctly, went all the way to the Texas Supreme Court. And the Texas Supreme Court sided with the hospital. Yes, hospital, as employees of this hospital, you can mandate them, if you pay them, that they take the vaccine. So not only have we seen just a plethora of mitigating factors now taking place where people who are not vaccinated, the unvaccinated, are either being forced to vaccinate, or you can't go see your favorite sport, or you can't go into this public building without a mask, or you can't have a job if you're a civil servant with the federal government if you don't get vaccinated. So now it's where the rubber's meeting the road, and it seems that the government is getting sick and tired of unvaccinated people, and they're getting tougher. You want to keep your job, it's going to come to a point where you're going to have to get a vaccination, because now we have these extenuating circumstances where we're having people who've gotten vaccinated who are actually getting COVID-19, but that number is probably less than 5% of the 95% of the new cases. Most of them are the Delta variant, and most of them are people certainly who have not been vaccinated. Let's go to our medical expert for the Office of Public Health in Region 6, Dr. David Holcomb. So, Doc, you're seeing all over the country now where the government and employers are getting tough with employees and saying, look, we cannot have this continuation of non-compliance of getting the vaccination because this is a public health crisis, and it's not about individual personal freedoms. And Doc, I see it like it's no different from when we were going to public school. You and I both, we had to have a shot record. We had to go to your office and get that shot record and get all of our shots, just as kids have to do to this day in order to go to public school. So why is this whole thing about not being vaccinated? It's a public mandate, and I think at some point, although it may be challenged in court, that we may have to start doing maybe some legal mandates of people who are unvaccinated to save people who are trying to do the right thing. Good morning and welcome back, my friend.
Good morning. How are you doing?
I'm COVID-free, baby. and still trying to preach the truth, the gospel about this doggone pandemic.
Watching these curves in Louisiana, especially in Louisiana, skyrocket is just demoralizing because it is preventable. This was not inevitable. This is a viral and man-made catastrophe, and vaccination. People knew this a year ago. That was the way to get out of this. The door was built, and the people will not go through it. I'm floored. I'm just floored.
Well, same here. I see even locally, because I was waiting for this, I'm going to try to get the superintendent on the show tomorrow. But I see here where the Vols Parish School District, and good on them, has now have a mask mandate that all students in grades 3 through 12 will be required to wear a mask covering while inside the school facility. All passengers on the school bus must wear a facial covering while being transported. All visitors who are coming to school properties must wear a mask and maintain a physical social distance of 6 feet. But when I look at Rapides Parish and I see the verbiage of their mask guidance, it's not a mandate. It says right here, while inside the school facility, all unvaccinated adults and students in grades 3 through 12 should wear a face covering to the greatest extent possible and practical within a local community context. So when I read that, basically it says to me, you can wear a mask if you want, but you don't have to. Does it sound like the same thing to you?
Devil's in the details of these things, but when the federal when you start seeing the VA mandate masks of all their employees, that's a bold step.
That is.
That's a huge institution, and that's a declaration of war against this virus. We're in a war. We're in a war against this virus. And you're either with the Army or you're part of the problem.
What's ironic to me, and you know me, I have no problem questioning Superintendent Jeff Powell about this, because you're sending a confusing message. To me, if you're giving people the option, certainly unvaccinated adults, the option of coming in, or teachers. You don't have to wear a mask. You want to wear one, you can wear one. Students, you don't have to wear a mask. You want to wear one, you can wear one. Or as much as possible, you can wear one. But when I take a look at the transportation of Rapides Parish, facial coverings are required on transportation, including school buses, both private and public. So while they're mandating that kids on school buses have to wear face masks, and when I take the square footage of a bus, you have maybe another bus, and you take that square footage, that's the size of a classroom. So what's the difference in mandating something on a confined bus than in a confined classroom? It's oxymoronic, and it doesn't make any sense to me.
Well, it makes 100% sense, because the mandate for bus is a federal mandate.
Okay. So they found the federal government.
The federal government subsidizes bus, school transportation.
Absolutely.
So
now
that is why there's a difference there.
Gotcha. Okay, so they're only doing a mandate because they want to receive those federal dollars. Man, I'm glad you opened my eyes on that one, Doc. So it's about the money. That's about the money, and let's keep it at money. So at what point do you think that the federal government, which basically subsidizes the states for the Department of Education, is going to say, hey, we've done it for the VA, now it's time to lock and rein in the school system, because right now we don't have a vaccine approved for these children, and we need to mitigate any situation as it pertains to them with face coverings. And then you have people... I don't even see schools with maybe a couple of weeks for school starts. I don't see schools embracing the option of virtual learning when they need to be.
Well, I think this caught a lot of people off guard. But I think it caught a lot of people by surprise, because if you look at the curves, these curves of numbers of cases and so forth, we had those three peaks, those three waves, and you had this enormous big wave in January and February, and it came down very steeply, and then it reached this plateau. This plateau gave everyone a false sense of security.
It did.
We're beyond this. You got a few cases. They went from having 2 patients in the hospital for COVID now to have 38.
Wow.
That's our local hospital.
Yeah.
So this has exploded, and it has to do with a more infectious variant. Why do we have a more infectious variant? Because there were enough people around who were not vaccinated, so this virus could percolate around in the general population until it happened in India, but it could happen in Indiana too. that you get a new variant that is more deadly, that is more transmissible, and then that becomes your dominant strain. The only thing that stops this is to have a vaccinated population.
Since you mentioned hospitals, Doc, as memory serves me correctly from the historical documents that we call the Bible, 2021 years ago, a man named Joseph and his wife Mary were looking for a space to have their child. And they went up door to door in a little town called Nazareth. And every time they would go from door to door, there was no room in the inn. I'm hearing here in central Louisiana, I know Our Lady of the Lake are full to capacity. I know that we talked to Monty Wilson just yesterday. Cabrini is full to capacity. I don't know if Rapides is as well. And the reason why they're full and they're not taking these elective surgeries because they're now dealing with this fourth wave. So do you know something I don't know? Are all the beds filled in the local hospitals?
Well, I don't know if they're actually at capacity, but I'll tell you that this is a national problem because the first few waves, the hospitals, people didn't want to go to a hospital.
No.
And so for your run-of-the-mill medical problems, people were staying away from the hospital. So now that they're crowding into the hospital, they're crowding into the ERs because they want testing, which is inappropriate. Please don't go to an ER for testing. Come to the Office of Public Health. And so you have this double problem, and you have this nursing shortage, which is acute all over the country.
Wow.
And a lot of it is just, a lot of these people have COVID burnout in that population, and so they cannot get enough nurses to staff all of their hospitals.
And then you guys are losing in the state, and we talked to Dr. Cantor about that, and even Monty. These travel nurses, man, you can sit up and make $20,000 or $40,000 in a week, as opposed to making that, in a year. The bottom line is they're leaving. They're going to these jobs as travel nurses where they're needed the most, and they're going for the money, and rightfully so. So if I had to put my life on the line, I might as well get paid what I'm worth doing it. So I understand that factor. But I was listening this morning to some medical experts, some doctors just like yourself, Doc, who are concerned not only about unvaccinated people, staying away from bars and staying away from restaurants, but even vaccinated people now being mandated by the CDC of having face coverings when they go indoors as well. Those directives just came out on yesterday. But when I look here in Rapides Parish, and I look at a young mother like Q and a little boy who's 8 going on 9, who is concerned to the point where he asks his mother, and he hears what's going on. He hears Eyes Open. He hears Dr. David Holcomb talking to Tony Brown on a daily basis as he's sitting up here right now. And to go to his mother at 8 years old and say, Mom, I'm scared to go to school because they're not going to let people wear masks, and I don't have a shot to take. So his mother, she talked to me just yesterday, who was buying uniforms, had the school picked out, after 2 years of doing homeschooling. He was finally about to go back into the school, and now all bets are off because her child is afraid to go to school because of a lack of a mask mandate. What would you say to parents? I heard a doctor tell parents, if your school district doesn't have a mask mandate, I wouldn't send my child there. I heard a doctor say that this morning. What's your advice to parents in Rapides Parish without a mask mandate in those classrooms who are right now sitting on the fence on whether they're going to send their potentially vulnerable child into a hotbed of medical mess?
Well, I would never tell people don't send your kid to school because school is such an important thing for children, but you have to do it safely. And if there's only a mask recommendation in the school, then you as a parent are really obliged to ask your children to demand that your children wear masks because it was only the mask mandate that really kept transmission rates down in the school. Now, the problem this time around is that darn Delta virus is so transmissible. Mm-hmm. There's 100 to 1,000 times more virus in your nose with this variant than there was with the last variant.
Oh, my gosh.
So that's why it's so transmissible. So the environment is going to be a more a riskier environment.
So the Delta variant.
No jab, no job, and no shot, no school policies, and we need them as soon as possible.
Man, I like. Did you come up with that? No job, no jab, no shot, no school. Did you come up with that?
Actually, the no shot, no school is old.
Okay.
Because, that's been the policy forever.
Okay.
The no jab, no job actually came from a friend of mine in the Czech Republic.
Okay, I tell you what.
The policy is there.
So they have that policy, and I tell you what, that's what we're starting to see in America, certainly as it pertains to the public sector and people who work for the government. No jab, no job. Let me ask you this. There was one other question I wanted to ask you, Doc. What's the status situation on the Rapides Parish Jail?
Okay, so we are regularly going in there again to test the people that are in there again who were negative and so forth. But the difference now, jails are simply not set up for isolation and cohorting. They just aren't set up for that. So the people that have were diagnosed as having positive cases more than 10 days ago, we're actually offering them vaccine. And so we're going to try and nibble away at the people in there to at least create a safer environment, because they can't completely shut down the jail. What you probably don't know is that prisoners that are intended to go there, first of all, they'd like to not have any, but it's just not possible. You have to send violent criminals and burglars caught in the act. They just can't say, okay, we'll go out and we'll talk to you later. Those people are actually being sent to the health department, to us, to be tested so that we can figure out whether they can be put in there safely or not. And so, this is crazy. We have to have a National Guard at the health unit 24 hours a day for the sheriff and the police to take people to have them tested. So they're making an effort, but it's in an environment that just is not conducive to a pandemic.
Absolutely. Doc, always a pleasure. Thank you for the update, my friend. And again, go ahead and tell people what they need to hear before I let you go, Doc.
Roll up your sponge sleeves and get your vaccines, get your kids vaccinated. We had a lot of people come by. Yesterday we had over 60 people come by, many with their kids to get vaccinated. Bravo to them. And we had 77 people come and get tested.
Great.
So these are very, very high numbers for the office, for the parish health unit. And my nurses are like, do we have to keep doing this? And I said, yes, you do. You're at war. You're at war with the virus.
Absolutely. I saw where a hospital I think it's a hospital in Tangible Hall Parish, because the numbers are really bad down there, is offering $100 per shot. $50 when you get the first shot, $50, and they had some 300 to 400 slots. The first 300 went within a matter of 48 hours that they're going to be giving a jab this week, and they get private donations from the corporate sector. So they got donations to raise this money, to give this money out to people who are on the fence about getting a shot. So there still shows, Doc, that for political reasons we have a lot of particularly Caucasian older people who are not getting it because they feel that it's infringing upon their liberties, their civil liberties. But at the same time, we still have a movable middle, is what they're calling the people who are still on the fence, who may have waited or hesitated to see how it plays out, who are now getting the shot.
You know what? It's about time.
Amen.
And more power to them. I wouldn't discourage anyone. But good grief, this was all avoidable by getting up to herd immunity when we had tons of vaccine and all the infrastructure to give as many shots as we could. And people just weren't coming in. So now's your chance, folks. It's never too late.
Never too late. And with that said, Dr. David Hogan, Officer of Public Health. Always a pleasure, my friend. You take care. Have a great day. Stay safe.
All right. You too. Thanks a lot.
All right. More eyes open when we come back, folks. Don't go away.
FM 107.5 The Vibe and 1110 AM KGTP Alexandria Pineville.
Hello, everyone. I'm Tony Brown. This is your statewide news you can use on this Thursday. It's the 29th day of the month of July. News being brought to you by Natchitoches Foot and Ankle Specialist, Dr. Ogali Ileye. We're going to start down in Baton Rouge, where one person is dead and two more injured in a Wednesday evening shooting that took place in Baton Rouge on North 13th Street. First responders rushed to the reports of a shooting around 6:30 p.m. in the 100 block of North 13th Street by North Boulevard. Baton Rouge police said multiple individuals suffered injuries and that one person is dead. No other details available as of yet. Since a Baton Rouge police officer killed Alton Sterling in 2016, the city has garnered national attention and sharp criticism for its policing practices. Now, social justice groups are asking the federal government to address problems they say have seen little improvement. In a public video conference hosted by the Promise of Justice Initiative on Wednesday, Decarcerate Louisiana Executive Director Curtis Davis accused Baton Rouge police leaders of abusing their authority and turning a blind eye to systemic failure. Quote, they have weaponized the police department against our community, he said. It's been this way forever, and we have to get rid of the intellectual dishonesty of our leaders, acting like racism does not exist in East Baton Rouge. The event coincided with the release of a 21-page letter in which Promise of Justice Initiative Executive Director Mercedes Montague implores the U.S. Department of Justice to intervene. After detailing how local black residents have historically borne the brunt of police brutality, the missive calls for the DOJ to investigate a pattern of practice of constitutional violations in East Baton Rouge Parish. Quote, despite decades of police violence and public outrage, incidents of fatal shootings and other forms of police brutality in EBR still around today, the letter reads, institutional racism and racist sentiment among East Baton Rouge officers have led to the over-policing of African-American communities and youth, discriminatory law enforcement, and frequent use of excessive force against African-Americans. In the wake of the 1991 Rodney King beating of Los Angeles police, Congress gave the U.S. Attorney General's Office and DOJ authority to conduct civil pattern and practice investigations that go beyond an individual occurrence to determine if a law enforcement agency displays systemic failures. Baton Rouge City Court candidate Carson Mercantile will stay in the race after a state judge Wednesday dismissed a lawsuit that sought to disqualify him. City residents Charles P. Bergeron and E. Helen Antilli had alleged that Mercantile did not file his 2016 state tax return, but an attorney for the plaintiffs told District Judge Don Johnson on Wednesday that they wanted to drop their legal challenge after learning that Mercantile that he had indeed filed the return. Paulette Porter LaBoisse III, the lawyer for Bergeron and Antilli, explained to the judge that the confusion arose because there's apparently another person in Louisiana by the name of Carson Mercantile. She said she did not know which Carson Mercantile did not file his 2016 tax return because the Louisiana Department of Revenue statute does not allow the plaintiffs to obtain that information. Only the taxpayer can get the information. Bergeron and Antilli did not attend Wednesday's hearing at the 19th Judicial District Court. The small rectangular strips that quickly detects whether a deadly synthetic opioid known as fentanyl is present in drugs are no longer illegal in East Baton Rouge Parish. A unanimous vote by Metro Council Wednesday cuts away red tape that prevented people from buying and distributing the rapid test strips to those struggling with addiction, something advocates and police say can decrease the risk of fentanyl overdoses. Lamont Cole, who introduced the item, says we just want to help people. Said District 7 City Council member. The measure came before the council at a time when opioid overdoses, a vast majority tied to fentanyl, are skyrocketing in the parish. About 75% of the 242 overdose deaths in the parish last year were fentanyl related. According to the parish district attorney's office, that number is even higher in 2021. Roughly 89% of the confirmed overdose deaths in the parish this year included fentanyl in a toxicology report. Quote, this is an epidemic that affects everyone in the parish from the curbside to the country club, said Tanja Miles, an advocate and proponent of the measure who has been in recovery for more than 30 years. The first fentanyl-linked overdose death was reported in the parish in 2014. Fatal overdoses from the drugs are steadily increasing since then before exploding last year. From 2014 to 2017, only 5.5% of the 348 overdose deaths involved fentanyl. According to the DA's office, some 31% of the 103 overdose deaths were attributed to fentanyl in 2018. In 2019, fentanyl became the deadliest drug in the parish, attributed to 51% of the 126 overdose deaths. In Lake Charles, a major infrastructure deal negotiated in part by U.S. Senator Bill Cassidy does not include the kind of hurricane disaster relief the Lake Charles area has been seeking, but further hope and strategies remain to have the money approved in the weeks or months ahead. Lake Charles and the surrounding region have been struggling to rebuild after the devastation inflicted by Hurricane Laura, one of the most powerful storms in state history with 150-mile-per-hour winds. It was followed by Category 2 Hurricane Delta around 6 weeks later, a fierce winter storm in February, and severe flooding in May. Complications linked to the pandemic have also slowed rebuilding efforts, including by increasing the cost of materials and limiting volunteers. Lake Charles estimates up to 5,000 of its residents could still be displaced, and possibly more in a city of around 78,000, and destruction remains ubiquitous throughout the region. An attempt to take money from Baton Rouge libraries to pay for flood protection has come to a screeching halt. After failing to garner the 7 votes needed to move the idea forward Wednesday, the East Baton Rouge Metro Council will have to come up with another way to fund the drainage upgrades and ease the public's growing concerns around flooding. Councilman Dwight Hudson, who came up with the idea of diverting tax revenues from libraries and other departments to fund drainage projects, said it's back to the drawing board. And finally, Louisiana's governor dangled lottery tickets. State and local officials tried going door to door. Some ran online campaigns aimed at funneling residents towards information from medical experts, hoping to counter speculation and fear over COVID-19 vaccinations that brewed on social media. None of it seemed to work in Tangible Horde parents. Vaccinations stagnated even as the more contagious Delta variant spread and cases and hospitalizations soared. So Hammond's North Oaks Hospital tried something new, giving people cash to get vaccinated. Funded by donations from local businesses and government agencies, the hospital is offering $100 cash payments to those who sign up for the 2-shot Pfizer vaccination, $50 after their first shot, and another $50 when they return for the second. So far, the hospital staff say the cash inducement is working. All 500 appointments scheduled for July 31st under the incentives program are full, said North Oaks spokesperson Melanie Zavado. The first 400 slots were snatched up in 3 days after online sign-ups opened up in July 19. When a new round of donations allowed the hospital to open up another 100 shots for cash appointments on Tuesday, those took just a day or 24 hours to be filled. The initiative's success shows how people still on the fence over whether to get vaccinated, a population scientists are calling the movable middle, can be persuaded to seek out vaccinations that, according to Dr. Robert Peltier of North Oaks Hospital's Chief Medical Officer up in Hammond. I'm Tony Brown. That's your statewide news you can use on this Thursday. Have a safe and a blessed day. Introducing Dr. Ogali Ileye with foot and ankle specialist located at the 415 Bienville Street, right behind the hospital in Natchitoches. Every step you take depends on the condition of your feet. Dr. Ogali Ileye is a former college athlete. Also, he has vast experience in sports medicine. As a licensed podiatrist, Dr. Ileye treats a wide range of foot and ankle problems like diabetic foot care, bunions, chronic sores, nail problems, infections, ingrown toenails, planters, warts, wound care, and more. The professionals at Foot and Ankle Specialists, 415 Bienville Street in Natchitoches, can help you get back on the good foot by calling 318-357-3668. That's 318-357-3668. So whether you need foot or ankle surgery because of a sports injury or just need constant foot care because of diabetes, put your best foot forward and call Dr. Ogali Ileye with Foot and Ankle Specialists in Natchitoches today at 318-357-3668. Dr. Ogali Ileye with Foot and Ankle Specialists, 415 Bienville Street in Natchitoches, the only podiatrist in Sinlock that is one step ahead of everyone else. right, we're back right here on your Premier Morning News Magazine. Top of the morning to you. This is Eyes Open on FM 107.5 The Vibe and 1110 AM KTTP. I do want to remind our listeners throughout the state that we are streaming live on 8 different digital formats. You can check us out on 4 different Facebook pages. Tony Brown Roman number 2, FM 107.5 page, as well as the KTTP Facebook page. We're also streaming live on Twitter at Eyes Open T Brown, as well as Periscope. And you can go and subscribe to our YouTube channel, and you can see this show in its entirety. All of my shows by going to Eyes Open with Tony Brown on the YouTube, and you can see those shows, and you can see this one immediately following its closure at 9 a.m. this morning. I had the pleasure this morning, I just want to tell you that I had an opportunity to meet him maybe about a month ago. I was down there with the NAACP as, of course, the vice president here, one of the lead investigators in the state, to go down there and participate in the NAACP day at the legislature and shake some hands. And I was up on the 4th floor of the elevator, and just happenstance, I saw the new Colonel Lamar Davis, walking past, headed to a meeting of the governors. And you know me. It is always better to ask for forgiveness than to ask for permission. So I stopped him, and he stopped. Told him who I was, told him a little bit about my show briefly. I think the conversation lasted maybe 60 seconds at the most. He was running late for a little meeting. I saw he was in a rush. I handed him my card, told him I'd like to bring him on the show. And he promised that he would have someone get in contact with me. And true to his word, so I have to say that on the air, that I like him already, because he kept his word, and he did have his staff member contact me last week. And they did facilitate this interview. So with that said, it just speaks volumes to me about the caliber of person that Governor John Bel Edwards has appointed to clean up this mess that we have going to the state police. So Colonel, welcome to the show, and God bless you for making yourself available to our listeners.
Good morning, sir. Thank you, and I greatly appreciate you having me.
Let me just say for the record, now you were handed this crab sandwich, and I compare you to the brother who's now taking over LSU down there in Baton Rouge, the flagship station, as their new president, of basically cleaning up that sexual harassment mess. They put a brother in charge, probably for the first time as president of LSU. Although you're not the first African American to lead the state police, you're probably up there. It's been less than a handful. On one hand, I can count maybe 3 at the most that I can certainly remember while having this show. I think you may be even the 3rd or 4th. I'm not sure about that. That's not important to me. But what is important is, and certainly for you, how do you go about restoring the confidence of the state police, particularly in the African American community, after we all saw and witnessed not only the death of Ronald Green at the hands of your troopers, but also just as bad, or maybe even worse, the subsequent 2-year cover-up and just the lies to the family. How do you come back from that and regain our confidence, Colonel?
Well, thank you again for having me. And I will tell you, this is a very difficult task, not only for me but for our entire agency, because it has really taken many years of what we've worked to build, and really severely impacted that. It severely impacted the trust of the community as well as the trust of our partners. As far as how do we restore that, for me it's simple. Do the right thing for the right reason. Mm-hmm. That's number one. That's been a part of my vision. That's been a part of my goals and my expectations. As I've communicated internally to our personnel, we are going to do the right things for the right reason. It's very important to understand when you come into an organization what our mission is, and that's protect and serve. But I've also added another component to that, and that's compassion. We're all humans, and oftentimes in law enforcement, we see people on their worst day, whether it's a traffic accident or a fatality where they lost a loved one, or we come into contact with them. Maybe we're arresting them for violating state statutes, and now they're having to go to jail. That's on their worst day, but it does not absolve us, and it does not mean that we cannot do it with compassion. And I think as we continue to move along that line, that's always been a practice of mine, and I've always seen where you get the best results when you treat people compassionately. So that's I'm very passionate about that. I believe in it,
It's not just a slogan. It's who I am. And anyone, you can ask anyone that I've ever served with, whether it be militarily or whether it's been in the community or here in law enforcement, they'll tell you that's just who I am. We treat people how we want to be treated. And as we do that, that's one essence of restoring that trust. But secondly, we've got to be truthful about where we are as an agency. And again, you know, some of the areas in which concerned me was our use of force in certain areas of the state. And I've taken a hard look at that. I've made some significant changes, not only on my command staff, but also with that particular troop area by changing out the commander and some of the leaders in that program. And I think having those people there now that moves along with my vision, moves along with the vision of the governor and really the citizens of the state, you know, that has helped tremendously initially getting us moving in the right direction. And thirdly, I'll say this, the most important part of anything you do, and what I found mainly in my military career as well as here in state police, is accountability is crucial in doing any and everything. We have to first identify and understand that we have an issue. As we do so, then we have to take steps and own that issue, fix that issue. And if that means that we have people that's not abiding by our core values, then we have to in turn, if we can't train and retrain and get them where they need to be, then we need to remove them. And I've taken those steps. Hopefully the community has seen that I've taken steps to do that. And as well as I hope that my coworkers see that I'm taking those steps to do that. And, you know, that's how we get that trust back. And finally, for me, it's really about transparency. I know there are a lot of laws out there, and I'm learning every day about the laws of how we, you know, transpose or transmit information and communicate information. We have partners within the law enforcement community we're responsible to. We have the community we're responsible to. And we have to really navigate a lot of those areas with regards to how we transmit and communicate things. But again, we are looking for more creative ways to get information out to the public and be more transparent. Let them know who we are. When we make mistakes, we own those mistakes, and we work to fix those mistakes as opposed to not doing that. And I think as we pursue things in that manner, it's my hope, my desire that we can again rebuild that trust that we once had in the community.
You talked about training, Colonel, and I'm glad you brought it up. Not only here in Louisiana, but certainly this is an issue across the country. Lack of training, particularly as it comes to what they call sensitivity training, de-escalation training. Are you sending all of the troopers to be retrained? Are you adding a component of a issue of people being sensitive, certainly to minorities? Or is anything changing about the training as a result of this tragedy with the Ronald Green and what their family is dealing with?
Yes, so one of the first things that I did upon speaking with some mentors of mine, as well as looking at some best practices around the nation, is I've mandated implicit bias training. And you know, what that speaks to for me is it doesn't say you're a bad officer because you have a bias. I think we all as humans have biases. So I mandated that training, and what it does is it really explores and it causes us as not only humans but as law enforcement professionals to identify those biases that we have. You know, some people have bias based upon race, some have bias based upon sex, some have bias based upon culture.
Yes.
I happen, as a black man, I have a bias.
Yeah, we all do.
Multiple biases, many biases.
Absolutely.
We all do, and that's environmental, and that's what helps shape us. But it doesn't say you're wrong. What it does is it forces us to really take a deep dive and reflect upon those biases and see how that impacts our ability and our performance when we are performing our duties out there and serving the public. And by doing so, it helps us put in things that can help us navigate situations that would normally rise to the level of a use of force. And I think as we look at those biases, then we can in turn say, okay, maybe I need to approach this differently because I was thinking I had this preconceived notion of who this person was, but that may not be who they are. The second thing for me is de-escalation training. It's very important for us to really look at how we can get our jobs done without escalating it. It's sad, but in today's time, people are a lot more emotional. When you look at the pandemic, when you look at crime rates, when you look at a lot of the things that are going on in our environments, in our communities, a lot of people are stressed. As law enforcement professionals, it's up to us to conduct and perform the training so that we can help minimize some of those enforcement actions and still accomplish the same task of keeping people safe. And that's two of the main things. But, we're also looking at a duty to intervene training that we're bringing to our agency. One of the things that I always talk about is really leadership. And oftentimes people equate leadership with position, but that's not necessarily so. If you're in a position where you observe something, and that's all the way to the public, and it's wrong, then it's incumbent upon us to take whatever action possible within our means to try and get that resolved. And we're taking that to heart with regards to law enforcement. We are going to provide that to all of our troopers. We've already started with implicit bias training. We've got more than half of our troopers trained in implicit bias, and we're going to continue that until every trooper, every officer is trained in implicit bias. And we're going to do the same thing with regards to de-escalation training and a duty to intervene training.
Absolutely. In the news this morning, making headlines, is a story involving police in Aurora, Colorado. In Aurora, 2 Colorado police officers were arrested. They both were put into handcuffs after in which a man, a particular black man, was struck no less than 14 times, pistol whipped in the head by the white officer, while the Hispanic officer, a female, sat by and watched him do it. Now, she did nothing to intervene. She did nothing to stop the attack of this man, who was also choked at the hands of this officer. When the chief of police looked at and we just played her bite, she was appalled, aghast, almost to the point of tears. That you had an officer, because in Colorado there's a state law that mandates if you see an officer violating someone's civil rights, that you, as an officer of the law, have a right to stop him from doing harm to protect and serve that citizen. Do we have such a law in Louisiana? And if we don't have a law, is there something that you could implement in with the state police that will do the very same thing, that will stop cops, good cops, from idly being what I call indifferent and sitting back watching their colleague or their partner violate someone's civil rights?
I can't speak to the law, but I can tell you I've already enacted a policy in my agency that not only gives a trooper the right, it obligates them to doing it. So they're now responsible for any action that takes place. If they observe something like that, they have a duty to intervene. That means that they are responsible for doing so. If they fail to do so, not only can they can be terminated, disciplined, as well as up to terminated if not charged, depending upon the circumstance. But we're going a step further than that, because oftentimes when we put laws into place and policies into place, oftentimes people think that that's sufficient. We have to train our officers, just like we have to train our kids in school, just like we have to train our professionals in any other professional environment. We have to train our officers and give them the tools and the resources. So we're taking it a step further. We have not only enacted a policy mandating that they intervene in such case, but we're also going to provide them that training that gives them the tool set to, one, identify those situations, two, respond reasonably to those situations, and three, we've also taken it a step further and mandating that they report those situations. So if they fail to report them, they can be disciplined.
Absolutely. Now, the troopers involved in the situation, I remember one, I think he was African American, that actually took 2 years after he found out he would be terminated hours later. He basically committed suicide by ramming his personal vehicle at a deadly speed into a tree. We don't have to talk about him. We know, Colonel Davis, that you fired Trooper Chris Hollingsworth as a result of your own investigation when you came in. The other trooper, Dakota Moss, received a letter of counseling and reprimand and notified the Department's intent to terminate him. He remains on leave pending conclusion of the proceedings. Trooper Corey York received a 50-hour suspension, served that, and is now back on active duty pending the outcome of the review and the federal and state authorities. Let me ask you a hypothetical question. Had you been the colonel 2.5 years ago when this incident happened, would those troopers, would they have been arrested, or will we be still talking about them 2 years later?
I think it's safe to say that looking at my actions upon coming into the office, I've been provided information and evidence regarding uses of force and excessive use of force, and in those particular instances, I arrested and terminated 4 troopers. I hope that would speak to who I am and would speak to how I would have handled that situation had I been in office.
Absolutely, and the command structure, because a lot of people look at it as ghastly and as just appalling it was to see this man begging for his life, crying that you're my brother, and then for the report all the way up to the command structure saying that he died in a car accident and letting his family members believe that. But I thank God for a whistleblower, somebody who released the first audio recording of the officer who killed himself, saying, "I think I killed the guy," and that was released to the press down in New Orleans. That was really the hair that broke the camel's back, that kind of exposed what really happened, and really got many people interested in this investigation. And when the video came out, we basically were like, "Oh my God!" And then when the other guy saw this video, who had been beaten by the same troop members to the point where he had to be taken to the hospital as well. I know there's a lot of pending litigation and lawsuits. Let me ask you this. What was your message immediately when you contacted the family? Because you did make contact with them, it's my understanding. And what did you say to the Ronald Green family?
Out of respect, I like to keep that between them and me. I just respect them so much. I will tell you this, I do pray for Ms. Harding. I pray for their family. I pray for all of the families that's been impacted by tragedies such as this. So that speaks to me as a person. It speaks to me as a human. It speaks to me as a black man. And it speaks to me as the Colonel of State Police. But it doesn't just speak to me. And I've talked to troopers and support staff around the state. And, they hold the same opinions, the same feelings towards the situation, a lot of them. And I think that is, they take on the pressure. They go out each and every day. They serve our communities. However, they also take on everything that a few troopers did. And they carry that weight of what they did, just like I do. So we're getting through it. But I will tell you that we have some phenomenal people in our agency. We have people that leave their families, they go out in times of need, they go out in hurricanes that help to save and such, and help people. And they do so understanding that they may not come back. And I can't speak enough about them. And those are the folks that I really want to celebrate. Those are the folks that we're going to maintain and do what we have to do with those folks that does not abide by our policies, that does not abide by our core values. But I really want to celebrate those folks that go out each and every day, that leave their family and sacrifice to help someone else. And that's what we're in this for. We're all in this to help each other.
I agree 100%. I do know, as working as more than 30 years as a broadcast journalist in both TV and radio, I work with police from Florida to Dallas to here in Louisiana to even previous state police, and know that a majority of those officers, including troopers, are good, hard-working, law-abiding guys who have a tough job to do. They make very little pay, and we know that 90+% of them are always on the road doing the right thing, doing it anyway, although they may not even come back home. So we're prayerful for the righteous and the good cops. And I'll say this, I was pulled over by a trooper probably about 6 months ago as I was speeding, trying to make my way to the show, running late, and it was a young white trooper. He pulled me over. I was upset. It was cold at the time. I remember it was last year and it was raining. I pulled up at a service station, and he asked me, why I was upset. And I said, because I'm getting a ticket, and he de-escalated the situation. he said, Mr. Brown, is there anything that I've done to make you angry? I said, well, yeah, you pulled me over, but I said, just go ahead and give me a ticket, man, and so I can do what I need to do. And he de-escalated the situation, and he did it such a good way that I had to tell him thank you, and I appreciate him doing what he did, and I apologize to him. So that's the difference to me of a respectful, good cop, regardless of their color, of treating people with dignity and respect, although you guys are pulling us over and catching us at our worst when it comes to traffic. So I agree with you, and I've seen good troopers out there, because I met one, and I told him so. He gave me the ticket, and I took it with a smile, but I appreciate it. In fact, I came in and told my staff how he treated me, how he took me, a person who can go from 0 to 60 in less than 6 seconds easy, and he de-escalated that situation to the point where I thanked him and I appreciated his attitude and how he handled me. So I wanted to share that story with you on the air to tell you that I agree with you, because I saw it and the proof is in the pudding.
I appreciate that, and I get stories every day. There's two sides to this, and as I told you before, we meet people sometimes at their worst, and we work really hard to try and de-escalate situations. But, I think the thing that we really take for granted is what our troopers see day in and day out. To see, I've gotten a complaint whereby a trooper was upset because a child was not, properly restrained, and the occupant and the driver was speeding. So I went back and I conducted some research and found that, the trooper had worked a crash where a young person was killed as a result of not being properly restrained. That goes to our heart.
Yes.
Those troopers, we have kids, we have family members. We see our family members when we see those situations. So to come into contact with someone else maybe a day later or a week later, it may cause us to be upset, because we put things in place. We have educational programs to how to properly seatbelt, young people and such. And we really work hard to educate the communities and the public on proper habits that will help save their lives. And we take that to heart. So we're not perfect, and sometimes we do get, a bit excited and sometimes upset. I need the public to understand that it's out of care and it's out of love and it's out of really a passion and desire to try to save our lives, save your lives. And I think as, we work together with our community and do a better job of working with our communities, then we can all join in this effort to really save our lives and save our family members' lives. That's what we're in it for.
Folks, that's Colonel Lamar Davis, Louisiana's top cop and superintendent of Louisiana State Police. His plan to move the department forward and regain the public's trust here in the state of Louisiana in the wake of the investigations that are going on currently by the feds, whether it's the FBI or the Department of Justice, into the state police actions on that fatal evening more than 2 years ago up in Troop F in Monroe, Louisiana. Colonel, always a pleasure. Thank you for the access, my friend, and thank you for reaching out to us and keeping your word, sir.
Thank you so much. Just call me anytime if you want me on the show. I'm learning. I'm really learning to do this.
You're pretty good.
I appreciate you.
Well, you did a pretty good job, and like I said, as long as you are truthful and, of course, transparent, as you just mentioned, the Holy Spirit tells me, which dwells in all of us, I fear you. I sense you're a God-fearing man, and I know you have the answer to God. And I know because of that, you anything that you're subordinate to do, you're going to put them in check and make sure that they always try to do the right thing. So we thank you, the governor, for appointing you. We thank you for the caliber of person you are in reaching the highest level of your career field, certainly here in the state of police. And we pray for you and all the righteous troopers that the angels of God will encamp and surround you guys, keep you safe. And we pray for all of your courage and strength, that you guys will always do the right thing, certainly when you encounter people who you may see at their worst. So God bless you, my friend, and you can best believe I will keep in close contact with you as well to make sure that our listeners up here in central Louisiana know what's going on, certainly outside the Baton Rouge area, my friend. God bless you, Colonel, and we appreciate you, sir.
Thank you so much.
All right.
Day.
You have a good day as well. Again, folks, Colonel Lamar Davis. More eyes open when we come back, folks. He's with the Louisiana State Police. Don't go away.
Brown on FM 107.5, The Vibe, and 1110 AM, KGTP, Alexandria, Pineville.
Rapides Primary Healthcare Center is your federally qualified community healthcare center and is located at 1217 Willow Glen River Road in Alexandria. They are now accepting new patients. Are you tired of spending long hours in hospital emergency rooms waiting to receive non-critical healthcare services? Do you need affordable medical, dental, and mental health care? Do you need quality health care for you and your baby for prenatal, during pregnancy, and up until adulthood? Do you need to sign your family up for the Affordable Care Act or Medicaid? Then look no further than Rapides Primary Healthcare Center. It is the affordable, timely answer to all your family's health care needs. All services are available to anyone regardless of their ability to pay. You or your family will never be turned away. Rapides Primary is certified Kid Med site with a sliding fee scale. Payment is based on income and size of family. Medicaid, Medicare, and most commercial insurance are accepted for medical services. For appointments and information on all medical services, including Obamacare and Medicaid, call 318-487-4400. That's 318-487-4400. Rapides Primary Healthcare Center, a new beginning in quality health care and a proud impact partner of the Eyes Open Radio Network.
Did you get the COVID-19 vaccine? Now you can enter to win cash. 4 people will win $100,000 with one lucky vaccine recipient winning the grand prize of $1 million. Under 18, you can win one of 9 $100,000 college scholarships. So get the vaccine and take your shot at $1 million. To enter, visit shotatamillion.com or call 855-453-0774. Brought to you by the Louisiana Department of Health.
Introducing Dr. Ogali Ileye with foot and ankle specialist located at the 415 Bienville Street, right behind the hospital in Natchitoches. Every step you take depends on the condition of your feet. Dr. Ogali Ileye is a former college athlete. Also, he has vast experience in sports medicine. As a licensed podiatrist, Dr. Ileye treats a wide range of foot and ankle problems like diabetic foot care, bunions, chronic sores, nail problems, infections, ingrown toenails, planters, warts, wound care, and more. The professionals at Foot and Ankle Specialist, 415 Bienville Street in Natchitoches can help you get back on the good foot by calling 318-357-3668. That's 318-357-3668. So whether you need foot or ankle surgery because of a sports injury or just need constant foot care because of diabetes, put your best foot forward and call Dr. Ogali Ileye with Foot and Ankle Specialist in Natchitoches today at 318-357-3668. Dr. Ogali Ileye with Foot and Ankle Specialist, 415 Bienville Street in Natchitoches, the only podiatrist in Sinlock that is one step ahead of everyone else.
Hi, this is Bianca Brown, the Mobile Cincy Lady. Are you looking for a dream job? Well, you need to give me a call today. I'm looking for new recruits to join my team of Cincy consultants. Join Cincy today and get your starter kit for only $99 plus shipping and tax. Benefits include additional income, flexibility, incredible friendships, world-class training, recognition, personal growth, discounts on amazing Cincy products, and the opportunity to earn fabulous incentive trips around the world like the all-expense-paid trip I earned to Cancun, Mexico. Interested in joining Cincy? Give me a call today at 318-618-1832. That's 318-618-1832. Please refer to my website, lapeacefulsense.cincy.us, for our income disclosure statement.
The Rapides Parish School Board is looking for volunteers interested in helping parents and educators make a positive impact in the lives of young people. If you, your business, your church, or community organization would like to help empower and elevate young people in our community, please consider being a mentor. Effective mentoring has the ability to help children both cope with and overcome many of the obstacles they face in today's world. Please visit our website or social media pages to sign up to partner with educators and parents to ensure the children of Rapides Parish have the supports they need. Let's continue to show the world that Rapides Parish truly is better together.
Our troops are the backbone of America, freedom fighters, protectors of our liberties we hold very dear. Yet many veterans need jobs. Please, if you can bless a veteran today, hire smart, hire a vet. This message is sponsored by Miller and Hill Funeral Directors in Alexandria, where they specialize in all crematoria and funeral needs. Therefore, in your time of need, call the ones you and your family can trust. Call Miller and Hill Funeral Directors. Dial 318-704-0880. That's 318-704-0880. And thank you for listening.
All right, we're back right here in your premier morning news magazine. We're glad to have recently Dr. Joseph Cantor. Of course, he is the state's top medical doctor. And, of course, we are going to revisit with him on today. So you guys stand by. Probably today we will revisit with him on that interview where we had some eye-opening things on the new procedures and some of the new guidelines that have been put out recently by the CDC. Repeated waves of hospitalizations have taken a mental and physical toll on the state's healthcare workforce, and professionals of all sorts, from nurses to cleaning crews, are in short supply. Dr. Catherine O'Neill, Chief Medical Officer at Our Lady of the Lake Regional Medical Center in Baton Rouge, says we're past burnout. We have already had people decide to retire. We've had nurses who've decided to do something else. Facing the fourth and perhaps the most daunting wave of the coronavirus epidemic, as we've had over the course of from Friday until Monday, nearly 6,500 new cases in just a matter of days, numbers that we haven't seen since the height of the pandemic. Facing the fourth wave, as we mentioned, hospitals short on staff are beginning to show signs of stress. Intensive care units are overflowing into emergency departments. Hospitals are cutting off elective surgeries. We just told you yesterday about the state's largest lone-standing facility, Our Lady of the Lake, down in Baton Rouge, has also doing things to mitigate the spread of COVID-19, certainly in their institutions by, of course, stopping all elective surgeries. Ochsner's, I think, has done the same. Maybe not at all 40 of their hospitals throughout the country, but at quite a few here in Louisiana where the pandemic seems to be worse than any other state in the union. And even as hospitals are cutting off those surgeries and officials are struggling to find beds for people with time-sensitive illnesses like heart attacks and strokes. Let's go to my good friend, Monty Wilson. He's the president and CEO of Christus St. Francis Cabrini Hospital. I'm glad he's made himself available to us this morning. And he's never denied us an interview and always gives us access, and I like that. And we certainly need that type of leadership at our hospitals during this pandemic because people want to know what's going on in the hospitals. As we, again, the serious measure the hospitals are taking to mitigate the fourth wave, the Delta variant, which, of course, is out of control here in Louisiana. Mr. Wilson, always a pleasure, and welcome back to the show.
Well, good morning, Tony. Thank you for having me again on your show. Glad to be here.
Well, man, it's always, I like to go to the top, and you know what's going on as it pertains to your staff, what's happening there. Unfortunately, I've been at your facility a lot lately because of my brother-in-law. Let me say thank you for y'all taking good care, and thank you for checking in on him, man. It's, the audacity of me to ask the president and CEO to check on my brother-in-law at the hospital. And the audacity of him to do it is even more shocking to me because I did this. Let me see what kind of brother this is. And I texted him cute, and he went up and said, "Your brother doing fine." I checked in on him. And my brother-in-law told me you came by on a couple of occasions. He didn't know who you were. That didn't matter, but the fact that you came to see him and encourage him and make sure that the people at the hospital were taking care of him. So we're very thankful for that. So, Monty, you heard in the beginning, COVID-19. First of all, let me ask you, do you guys have any beds? Are y'all still waiting on beds? Is ICU packed? What is the current status of the hospital as it pertains to taking in patients and these elective surgeries?
So, Tony, we are here for the community, and the hospital never closes.
Mm-hmm.
But what we're doing is putting mitigation factors in place. So right now we are full, but we are going to take care of our community. I mean, we're committed to that. We'll do whatever we need to do to ensure that our community is taken care of. So we have done some different things as to how we mitigate some of the issues when we don't have ICU beds. How can we still set up other areas for ICU patients and still make sure they get excellent care? So we're doing lots of things like that to really try to mitigate the surge of this new variant.
Now, I know, Monty, you look at the numbers, I mean, daily, I mean, that, you get those reports, how many people are in, how many beds are available, what's not available, particularly as it pertains to this pandemic. So is an overwhelming majority of the people that you guys are taking care of in the ICU right now, are we dealing with this Delta variant?
Yes, we've had what I call the triple threat. And what I mean by that is, other than the other surges that we've had, what we have now is COVID, with the variant, and it's hard right now. We're not testing at our facility whether it is the Delta, Delta, the COVID Delta variant, or is it just, the old COVID. But what we have, discerned is that the patients that are coming in that have not had the vaccine are much sicker and requiring hospitalizations. Those who have taken the vaccine, because the vaccine is not 100%.
That's right.
Everybody thinks it is, but it's not. But those who have taken it, their illness is less severe. So we want people, to take the vaccine, because what it does is it allows us to be able to keep beds open for those more serious patients.
Absolutely. Now, let's talk a little bit about, we talked about how you guys are dealing to mitigate this latest wave. Are people being admitted that have the vaccination, Monty?
There may be some, but it's
not a
very
whole lot.
few.
Okay.
It's very clear. I mean, the science is there that those that did not take the vaccine are requiring more hospitalizations than those who took it.
Absolutely.
So we are seeing that. And they're much severe in their what is needed for their care.
Absolutely.
So there is a big difference.
Now, are we seeing the demographic as far as the age being more the younger people, as we know, particularly here in Louisiana, that most of the people who are over 65, a large majority of them are vaccinated. So are we seeing, by comparison to what we saw at the height of the pandemic last year, a different demographic as it pertains to the age of the patient now coming into the emergency room?
That is correct. What we're seeing is some of our patients is probably around the 50-year and less. I mean, we've had some that's been in their 20s. So it is not the demographics of the 65 and plus as it was in the other surges, but in this particular one, it is a much younger population.
Absolutely. Now, Louisiana, Monty, you may not know this, but because you came in during the height of the pandemic, or really at the beginning of it, but Louisiana was hurting and hurtling towards a nursing shortage way before the pandemic struck. But the demands of the last year and a half have caused the state's nursing rank to atrophy at an accelerating pace. Seasoned caregivers are retiring early, and many are opting to take more lucrative work like travel nurses, because I can hear about them making $20,000 a week. So a lot have gotten into that arena. But there's a nursing shortage nationwide. Central Louisiana probably is no different. How, from a psychological and mental standpoint, is your staff standing up to this? And are you experiencing a shortage in medical staff, as many other hospitals are having, not only here in the state but nationwide?
Yes, we're experiencing the same thing that's happening nationwide. We do have shortages of nurses. One of the things that we're trying to do from a resilience point of view is do those things to try to give our staff, rest, and where we're trying to give them PTO, but, it's very hard at this time. But we're really doing those things to really try to help them get through this process, because, it's been going over for well over, 16, 17 months now,
yes.
and that's becoming very taxing for them. But what we have had to do, we have, nurses that are contracted nurses in our facility. But with that, even that, we still have shortages. Absolutely. But that doesn't, keep us from really trying to do the best we possibly can with what we have as far as nursing the nurses. We just make sure that everything is safe for them and safe for the patients that come in.
As a journalist, that means I'm nosy by profession. You know that, right, Monty? That's what I do. I've always been nosy, and I'm pretty good at it. So let me ask you this. From a standpoint of an administrator at a hospital, do you guys get on weekly or daily calls in the height of this pandemic, or certainly when we're dealing with this fourth wave with the CDC? I mean, are y'all doing like Zoom meetings, conference calls to all be on the same page and to understand the dynamic of what's going on with this particular latest wave?
Absolutely. We start out the day with a huddle call to be able to understand what's happening. We have a midday that we huddle again with our physicians, hospitalists, and then toward the end of the day, we huddle again. So we huddle at least 3 times a day, but throughout that day, the forms of communication, we really make sure that happens, because that's critical, because everybody needs to know what's going on. And so we have, a good process that we've put in place, and our leaders are able to communicate with each other, and it just makes things much more easier and fluid, and it really reduces the stress off of the team members to know what's going on within the facility.
Absolutely, that makes sense. I mean, knowing what's coming is a lot less stressful than not knowing. And certainly when you have open lines of communication between the administration and the staff and the employees, that makes it all better. Let's not just talk about the medical staff. Let's not just talk about the doctors or the nurses. What about the support staff? What about the janitors? What about the cooks? What about the people who run the day-to-day, lab techs? What about all those other people at the hospital under your employ? Have we seen those numbers dwindling, or them leaving, or just going to unemployment? What's going on with your support staff?
So our support staff is just as critical as our physician staff.
Absolutely.
We really work as a team. It's not one is better than the other. It's a team effort. So those that work in EVS is just as important as the heart surgeon. We really try to work to make sure we create a team, because everybody has a job to do and a part to play. Now, as it relates to them being available, and we're seeing shortages there are some areas that we do have challenges in for recruiting, the shortage, just like nurses, like respiratory therapists. Those are a shortage nationwide. But we have, a firm foundation at our hospital. We could use more, especially when the pandemic, rises. So that's some of the areas. And you look into the lab areas to where they needed for a clinical lab, the lab techs and things of that sort. We see that there's a shortage there. So, but we've put processes and automations in place to try to mitigate some of those shortages. But we do really pay attention to the entire workforce. So whether it be support staff or clinical staff, we try to make sure that we balance it and give each one equal opportunity to be able to make it better.
That's Monty Wilson, President and CEO of Christus St. Francis Cabrini Hospital here in Alexandria. Mr. Wilson, always a pleasure, my friend. Thank you for the access, and thank you for being candid and letting us know, and certainly our listeners know what the situation is at our local community hospital.
Thank you, Tony, for having me, and have a blessed day.
You have a blessed day as well, my friend. More eyes open when we come back, folks. Don't go away. We got a big interview coming up. You don't want to miss it. Good morning.
Eyes Open with Tony Brown on FM 107.5 The Vibe and 1110 AM KGTP Alexandria Pineville.
Hello everyone, I'm Tony Brown. This is your statewide news you can use on this Thursday. It's the 29th day of the month of July. News being brought to you by Natchitoches Foot and Ankle Specialist Dr. Ogali Ileye. We're going to start down in Baton Rouge, where one person is dead and 2 more injured in a Wednesday evening shooting that took place in Baton Rouge on North 13th Street. First responders rushed to the reports of a shooting around 6:30 p.m. in the 100 block of North 13th Street by North Boulevard. Baton Rouge police said multiple individuals suffered injuries and that one person is dead. No other details available as of yet. Since a Baton Rouge police officer killed Alton Sterling in 2016, the city has garnered national attention and sharp criticism for its policing practices. Now, social justice groups are asking the federal government to address problems they say have seen little improvement. In a public video conference hosted by the Promise of Justice Initiative on Wednesday, Decarcerate Louisiana Executive Director Curtis Davis accused Baton Rouge police leaders of abusing their authority and turning a blind eye to systemic failure. Quote, they have weaponized the police department against our community, he said. It's been this way forever, and we have to get rid of the intellectual dishonesty of our leaders, acting like racism does not exist, these Baton Rouge. The event coincided with the release of a 21-page letter in which Promise of Justice Initiative Executive Director Mercedes Montague implores the U.S. Department of Justice to intervene. After detailing how local black residents have historically borne the brunt of police brutality, the missive calls for the DOJ to investigate a pattern of practice of constitutional violations in East Baton Rouge Parish. Quote, despite decades of police violence and public outrage, incidents of fatal shootings and other forms of police brutality in EBR still around today, the letter reads, institutional racism and racist sentiment among East Baton Rouge officers have led to the over-policing of African-American communities and youth, discriminatory law enforcement, and frequent use of excessive force against African-Americans. In the wake of the 1991 Rodney King beating of Los Angeles police, Congress gave the U.S. Attorney General's Office and DOJ authority to conduct civil pattern and practice investigations that go beyond an individual occurrence to determine if a law enforcement agency displays systemic failures. Baton Rouge City Court candidate Carson Mercantile will stay in the race after a state judge Wednesday dismissed a lawsuit that sought to disqualify him. City residents Charles P. Bergeron and E. Helen Antilli had alleged that Mercantile did not file his 2016 state tax return, but an attorney for the plaintiffs told District Judge Don Johnson on Wednesday that they wanted to drop their legal challenge after learning that Mercantile that he had indeed filed a return. Paulette Porter LaBoisse III, the lawyer for Bergeron and Antilli, explained to the judge that the confusion arose because there's apparently another person in Louisiana by the name of Carson Mercantile. She said she did not know which Carson Mercantile did not file his 2016 tax return because the Louisiana Department of Revenue statute does not allow the plaintiffs to obtain that information. Only the taxpayer can get the information. Bergeron and Antilli did not attend Wednesday's hearing at the 19th Judicial District Court. The small rectangular strips that quickly detects whether a deadly synthetic opioid known as fentanyl is present in drugs are no longer illegal in East Baton Rouge Parish. A unanimous vote by Metro Council Wednesday cuts away red tape that prevented people from buying and distributing the rapid test strips to those struggling with addiction, something advocates and police say can decrease the risk of fentanyl overdoses. Lamont Cole, who introduced the item, says we just want to help people. Said District 7 City Council member. The measure came before the council at a time when opioid overdoses, a vast majority tied to fentanyl, are skyrocketing in the parish. About 75% of the 242 overdose deaths in the parish last year were fentanyl related. According to the parish district attorney's office, that number is even higher in 2021. Roughly 89% of the confirmed overdose deaths in the parish this year included fentanyl in the toxicology report. Quote, this is an epidemic that affects everyone in the parish from the curbside to the country club, said Tanja Miles, an advocate and proponent of the measure who has been in recovery for more than 30 years. The first fentanyl-linked overdose death was reported in the parish in 2014. Fatal overdoses from the drugs are steadily increasing since then before exploding last year. From 2014 to 2017, only 5.5% of the 348 overdose deaths involved fentanyl, according to the DA's office. Some 31% of the 103 overdose deaths were attributed to fentanyl in 2018. In 2019, fentanyl became the deadliest drug in the parish, attributed to 51% of the